When my wife pulled the envelope open, she had no idea it would be the last thing she'd ever do. And me? I just smiled. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This story starts long before that moment. I wasn't supposed to find it. That thought keeps hammering in my brain, looping endlessly like a cruel cosmic joke at my expense. I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't suspicious. Hell, I had no reason to be. But fate has a messed up sense of humor. It was just another ordinary Wednesday evening. I was sprawled out on the couch, half watching some documentary on Netflix, scrolling through my phone with no real focus. Olivia had been in the shower for a while, her off-key humming barely audible over the sound of running water. My mind wasn't on anything particular. I was just killing time. Then, as I reached for the remote, my eyes landed on her laptop, sitting open on the coffee table. The screen was dim, but it wasn't locked. A browser window was up, a video frozen mid-frame. At first, my brain refused to process what I was looking at. The image was slightly blurred, bathed in warm lighting, a mess of tangled sheets. Nothing immediately stood out, until my eyes locked onto something painfully familiar. Our bedroom, our bed. Something in me twisted. My mind scrambled for a rational explanation, desperate to believe there was one. Maybe it was old. Maybe it was something we had recorded together, and I had just forgotten. That had to be it. But before I could even register the thought, my fingers moved on their own, pressing the spacebar. The video started playing, and I wasn't in it. The first thing I saw was her, bare, vulnerable, moving beneath a man who wasn't me. His voice, low and rough, murmured her name like it belonged to him. The sheets beneath them, our sheets, the ones I had washed just a few days ago, were tangled and twisted in a way I knew all too well. My chest tightened, my breath caught. Every rational part of me screamed to look away, to shut the laptop, to pretend I had seen nothing. But I couldn't. I sat there frozen, watching the way she moved, listening to the sounds, gasps, moans, whispered words of passion that had never been meant for me. And in that moment, everything hit at once. The betrayal, the fury, the sickening nausea curling in my stomach like something rancid. It slammed into me like a freight train, drowning me in a wave of emotions I couldn't control. She was cheating on me. And the worst part? She had either been reckless enough or arrogant enough to keep a recording of it. My hands shook as I forced myself to look away, struggling to catch my breath. Swallowing hard, I clicked on the file info with stiff fingers, my body rigid with tension. Date created 2.5 weeks ago. 2 weeks. While I was at work, while I was texting her, asking if she wanted me to pick up dinner, while I was kissing her goodbye in the mornings, telling her I loved her like some pathetic fool. My fists clenched, nails digging into my palms as I fought to steady myself. 7 years. 7 years of marriage, trust, love, reduced to a joke I hadn't even been in on. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab that laptop and smash it against the wall, watch it shatter the way my trust just had. But I didn't, because then something else caught my eye. One file, then another, and another, 6 in total. Different dates, some from months ago, one from last year. A slow, suffocating horror slithered through me, coiling around my ribs. How long had this been going on? How long had I been the fool? The sudden silence of the shower snapped me back to the present. A pause, then the faint sound of the curtain sliding open, followed by the soft tap of bare feet against tile. She was getting out, completely unaware that her entire world had just shifted beneath her. My pulse hammered in my ears, my fists clenched tight. She didn't know. She had no idea that I had seen everything. And in that moment, I realized I couldn't let her see the storm raging inside me. I had to swallow it all. The anger, the heartbreak, the disgusting feeling twisting in my stomach. If she noticed even the slightest change in me, she'd sense something was off. And I couldn't let that happen. Not yet. She walked into the living room, wrapped in a towel, damp strands of hair clinging to her skin. She stretched, slow and lazy, a satisfied little smile tugging at her lips. "Hey, babe," she murmured, voice warm, familiar. "Miss me?" I wanted to laugh at the irony. How many times had she come home like this? How many nights had she kissed me goodnight while carrying the scent of another man? My teeth pressed together, my jaw aching from the tension. but I forced a smile. Yeah, I said, my voice calm, steady, just watching something. Her eyes flicked to the coffee table, to her laptop. For a split second, I caught it, the briefest hesitation before she strolled over and shut it like nothing was wrong. She had no idea. Long day? She asked, ruffling my hair in passing, like she always did. I nearly recoiled. She had no right to touch me. Not after this, not after what I had seen. But instead of pulling away, instead of snapping, instead of throwing everything into her face, I let out a small laugh, rubbing my temples like I was just another tired husband winding down for the night. Yeah, I sighed, exhausting. She hummed in response, already making her way toward the bedroom, completely oblivious to the war raging inside me. I stayed put, silent, waiting. The closet door creaked open. Fabric rustled as she searched for pajamas. That was my moment. Moving fast, quiet, I grabbed my phone and snapped photos of her laptop screen. Evidence. My first instinct was to confront her, to shove the laptop in her face and demand answers. But that would be a mistake. People like Olivia, liars, manipulators, they were experts at flipping the script. If I accused her now, she'd cry, deny, twist the truth until I started doubting what I'd seen with my own eyes. No, not this time. This time, I wasn't going to act on impulse. I had to be smart. I needed a plan. That night, I lay in bed beside her, staring at the ceiling while she slept peacefully. Her breathing was steady, her body relaxed, as if she hadn't spent the last year tearing our marriage apart behind my back. Meanwhile, my mind raced, cycling through every possible move I could make. Divorce? Too easy. She didn't deserve to just walk away. Expose her? Maybe. But to whom? Friends? Family? Her employer? That last thought stuck with me. She worked for a high-profile marketing firm, a company that thrived on professionalism and discretion. If it came out that she was sleeping with a client, or worse, someone in the office, it wouldn't just be a scandal. It could cost her everything. Now that had potential, but it still wasn't enough. I needed to know who he was. The next morning, as soon as she left for work, I went straight to her laptop. I didn't touch the videos, not yet. That would be too obvious. Instead, I combed through her files, sifted through emails, text backups, anything that might give me a name. Then I found it, a hidden folder labeled personal. And buried in her browsing history in an encrypted messaging app was what she thought was well hidden. She wasn't careful enough. It took me less than an hour to get into it. And there he was, Brandon Hudson. At first, the name meant nothing, just another stranger. But the more I read, the clearer the picture became. He was her client, not just any client. He was a major player. CEO of a luxury fitness brand, wealthy, married, with kids. Olivia wasn't just running his social media campaigns. She was handling him in ways that had nothing to do with business. And he was handling my wife. Reading their messages was like drinking poison. Miss you, baby. Counting the days. Your husband still has no clue. LOL, you left your panties in my car last time. Should I keep them? My world cracked apart, but I didn't let it show. Instead, I documented everything. Screenshots of every disgusting text, every I love you, every lie they had told to cover their tracks. This wasn't just betrayal. This was career ending. She hadn't just broken my trust. She had sabotaged herself. And if fate wasn't going to make her pay, I would. That evening, when she walked through the door, I welcomed her like nothing had changed, pulling her in for a kiss. She leaned into it, smiling softly, completely unaware that everything she had built was about to collapse. How was work? I asked, my voice light, casual. She groaned dramatically, rolling her eyes. Ugh, exhausting. Had to deal with this one high-maintenance client today. I swear I'm about ready to lose it. I raised an eyebrow, masking my amusement. Oh yeah? Who? She sighed, shaking her head. Some idiot named Brandon Hudson. He's such a pain in the ass. For a split second, I nearly laughed. The nerve, the sheer arrogance. She had no idea. I reached out, fingers grazing her cheek as I kept my expression unreadable. Yeah, I murmured. Sounds rough. Inside, I had never felt more in control. She thought she was the one playing the game. She didn't realize the game had already flipped, and she was about to lose. The thing about people who think they've gotten away with something, they start slipping. They get cocky, careless. Every word she spoke, every casual excuse she tossed my way was another knot tightening around the noose she was unknowingly tying for herself. The longer I played the part of the devoted, oblivious husband, the more reckless she became. A last-minute client dinner that never came up before. A supposed work meeting that didn't exist on her calendar. The night she walked in freshly showered after supposedly grabbing drinks with coworkers. Then she made the mistake that sealed it all. A text, meant for him, sent to me instead. Wish I could be in your arms right now. I hate sneaking around. I nearly laughed out loud. You hate sneaking around? Good. You're going to hate what happens next even more. Everything was falling into place, but I wasn't about to waste my energy in some emotional, chaotic outburst. That was too easy, too predictable. No, this needed precision, a clean hit, a quiet, calculated takedown. No screaming, no heated arguments, just cold, strategic destruction. And thanks to her own carelessness, I had everything I needed. This wasn't just about her betrayal. She hadn't only cheated on me, she had sabotaged herself. Her affair wasn't just a personal failure, it was a professional disaster waiting to happen. So I dug deeper into Brandon Hudson. He wasn't just some random fling. He had just as much at stake as she did. A powerful CEO married to a woman with deep ties in philanthropy, a picture-perfect family built on public image, morals, and integrity. And from everything I could find, she had no idea that her husband was screwing my wife. Perfect. That changed quickly. It took one email, one anonymous account. Subject, your husband and Olivia, you deserve the truth. Attachments, screenshots, every filthy message, every fake excuse, every meeting planned under the guise of work. I sent it on a Tuesday morning. By noon, Travis's life was already beginning to collapse. The fallout had begun. By the time Olivia walked through the door that evening, I could already see it on her face. She was rattled, distracted. I knew why. Her phone had been buzzing nonstop for the past hour, sitting abandoned on the counter, flooded with missed calls and frantic messages. She hadn't checked it yet. I took a slow sip of my beer, keeping my voice casual. Rough day? She hesitated. Yeah, just client issues. I almost laughed. Client issues, that was one way to put it. She sank onto the couch, rubbing her temples. For a moment, I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I remembered the videos, the lies, the way she had smiled at me every single day while sneaking around behind my back. And just like that, any sympathy I might have had disappeared. Olivia's company had a strict no fraternization policy when it came to clients. The kind that didn't just fire employees, it ruined careers. And Travis's wife? She wasn't the kind of woman to cry quietly in a corner. By Thursday morning, a formal complaint was filed against Olivia at work. By that afternoon, Travis's board of directors had caught wind of his unethical behavior and launched an internal review. By Friday morning, Olivia was called into a meeting. And by Friday night, she came home in tears. I sat at the kitchen table pretending to scroll through emails, watching her from the corner of my eye. She walked in, body trembling, eyes red and puffy. Her purse hit the counter with a dull thud. I inhaled slowly. What's wrong? She wiped at her face, her hands shaking. Her voice cracked. She hesitated, her grip tightening on the back of a chair. I might be losing my job. I frowned, feigning confusion. What? Why? She let out a shaky breath, eyes darting to the floor, shoulders hunched like the weight of the world was pressing down on her. There's this rumor going around the office, she muttered, her voice unsteady, about me and a client, and it's not true. Her voice cracked on the last word. Not true. She had filmed herself cheating. I fought to keep my expression neutral, shaking my head with just the right amount of concern. That's awful. Do you have any idea who would start something like that? She froze. For a split second, doubt flickered in her eyes. Hesitation, suspicion. She looked at me, searching my face, trying to read me, trying to see if I knew. I gave her nothing. My expression remained calm, detached. She swallowed. I I don't know. She was lying. She knew the truth. She just didn't have proof. And that was exactly the way I wanted it. By Saturday night, everything exploded. Travis's wife didn't just leave him. She burned his entire life to the ground. She went public. Social media posts, leaked texts, screenshots sent to business competitors. She even tagged Olivia's company, calling her a home-wrecking parasite. It spread like wildfire. By the time Olivia got home, she was a wreck. She barely made it through the front door before slumping against the wall, hands shaking. I sat on the couch, scrolling through my phone, beer in hand, watching it all unfold in real time. Jesus Christ, she whispered, her fingers flying over her screen. This is, this is in my no. I glanced up, feigning confusion. What is? She turned to me, eyes wild, thrusting her phone in my face. Someone leaked everything. The texts, the affair, my name. It's all over the internet. I frowned, leaning forward slightly. Wow, that's crazy. She stared at me, her breath caught in her throat. She knew. She knew I wasn't surprised, that I wasn't confused, that I had seen this coming. And in that moment, I watched pure, gut-wrenching fear take hold. She knew her life was over. The final move. My exit. I let it sit for one more day, just long enough to watch her unravel completely. Then, on Sunday morning, as she sat in the kitchen, hollow-eyed and broken, I placed a single envelope on the table in front of her. She looked up, confused. What's this? I gave her the same fake smile she had given me for months. Divorce papers. The color drained from her face. I know everything, Olivia, I said, my voice calm. The videos, the texts, the endless lies. I tilted my head slightly, studying her. And now, I said, my voice calm, so does everyone else. Tears welled in her eyes. Her lips parted like she wanted to say something, to defend herself, to reach for an excuse, but there was nothing left. No words that could fix this. No explanation that could undo what she had done. She had already lost. I grabbed my keys, standing without a second thought. I'll be staying at a hotel for now. The lawyer will be in touch. She didn't move, didn't beg, didn't fight. She just sat there, staring at the wreckage of her own making. At the door, I hesitated for just a second, glancing over my shoulder. Oh, and one more thing, I smiled. Karma says hi. Then I walked out, leaving her behind. And the moment that door shut behind me, Olivia's world started to crumble. For the first time in months, maybe even years, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Freedom. I checked into a hotel across town, knowing that every hour I spent away was another hour she spent suffocating under the weight of her own betrayal. But this wasn't just about leaving. This was about making sure she felt every consequence. Because karma isn't just poetic. Karma is precise. And me? I wasn't just another victim in her story. I was the one delivering her reckoning. By Tuesday morning, the real damage had begun. My lawyer, Daniel Sloan, was a ruthless professional. The kind of man who didn't just win, he demolished his opponents. The second I handed him the evidence, he got to work. We filed for divorce on the grounds of adultery and sought a financial settlement that would leave Olivia in ruins. She had no idea what was coming. While she had been busy tearing our marriage apart, I had been making sure she wouldn't walk away unscathed. I had everything. Proof of her affair, records showing she had used our shared accounts to fund her little secret getaways, and undeniable evidence of her violating her company's ethics policies. She was finished. The best part? She didn't even see it coming. Her job? Gone. By Thursday, the inevitable happened. Olivia was fired. The internal investigation didn't take long, not when Travis's wife had already set the entire industry against them. Olivia's company had no choice but to cut her loose, citing ethical violations and improper conduct with a client. Her reputation? Destroyed. And Travis? He didn't just lose his marriage. His board of directors forced him out of his own company. Apparently, screwing your brand manager while promoting a family-friendly fitness empire wasn't the smartest business move. By the end of the week, Travis's finances took a serious hit. His wife had filed for divorce and was coming for half of everything. But it was clear from the way she weaponized social media, she wasn't stopping until she had burned his entire life to the ground. I couldn't have planned it better myself. Karma had its own momentum, and I just sat back and watched it unfold. By Saturday, Olivia's messages started coming in. Nathan, please, we need to talk. Nathan, you don't have to do this. We can fix this. I lost my job. I lost everything. You've made your point. Just talk to me, please. I didn't respond. I let her sit in the silence, let her feel the weight of what she had lost. But I wasn't finished yet. Not until there was absolutely nothing left. The final blow was swift and devastating. Her home, her money, her future, gone. The divorce process moved fast, and with Olivia unemployed and legally at fault, my lawyer pushed for a settlement that would leave her with nothing. We fought for the house. She had nowhere else to go. No alimony, no safety net. She was officially jobless, but that wasn't my concern. Every dollar she had spent on her affair, hotels, gifts, vacations, was accounted for, and we made sure she was on the hook for all of it. By the time the paperwork was finalized, Olivia was left with nothing. She couldn't afford to keep the house, couldn't find a decent place to rent, and couldn't even pay her own legal fees. She was drowning, and I was standing on the shore watching her sink. A week later, the inevitable happened. My phone rang. Olivia. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again and again. Finally, on the third call, I picked up. Her voice was shaky. Nathan, please. I didn't say a word. I just listened. I know I messed up, she whispered, voice barely holding together. I know I don't deserve anything from you, but I don't know what to do. I don't have anywhere to go. Her breath hitched, a choked sob escaping before she could stop it. Please, she begged, voice breaking. Just talk to me. I leaned back, closed my eyes, and savored the sound of her falling apart. She never saw this coming, never even considered the possibility that she wouldn't get away with it. In her mind, I was supposed to fade into the background, disappear quietly, let her walk away with everything intact. She was wrong. I took a slow breath, steady and deliberate, then spoke the last words I would ever say to her. You did this to yourself. Click, I hung up, blocked her number. And just like that, Olivia Mitchell ceased to exist in my world. The divorce wrapped up faster than I expected. In record time, actually. I kept the house, got my finances back under control. But more than anything, I got my freedom. Olivia, on the other hand, she wasn't so lucky. She ended up crashing with a distant cousin, the only family member willing to take her in. Word was she had taken a job waiting tables at some generic chain restaurant, barely scraping by. A far cry from the polished corporate life she once flaunted. She went from high-powered marketing executive to absolutely nothing. And me? I was already moving forward. One morning, my lawyer called with the final paperwork. It's done, he said. Officially. I stood in my doorway staring out at the world. Yeah, I murmured. It is. And then I closed the door. On Olivia, on the past, on the pain. I stepped into my new life, lighter than I had felt in years, knowing I had won. Because in the end, I didn't have to destroy her. She did that all on her own. Karma just made sure she felt every second of it.